Are you hungry?
Give me something good.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Görgött. Today we're cooking something very Swedish. We're cooking Janssons Frestelse or Janssons Temptation. It's basically a potato gratin, but it has Swedish anchovies in it. And Swedish anchovies are not anchovies at all. It's sprat, I think they're called in English. Also small oily fish. And they come in a can in a Swedish pickling, you can say. And that goes into a classical Janssons Frestelse. You can't do it with kind of Mediterranean anchovies because they're just too salty. So that doesn't work. It needs that sweetness. So get these if you want to make Janssons Frestelse. You can get it in any kind of international supermarket maybe, or online in a Swedish online shop. Here in Switzerland we have one that sells them. But before we have a look at the ingredients, do me the favor, support the channel by clicking the subscribe button and checking the bell icon so that you get notifications when new episodes are online. But now let's have a look. As I mentioned, it's basically a potato gratin. So you need your potatoes, we need some onions, we need the Swedish anchovies, the Sprats, we need some cream. If you want to make a lighter version, which I don't know why you would want, but then you can mix 50-50 milk and cream. And I'm making quite a small portion, so I have about 3 deciliters of cream here. And then you just need salt, pepper, and nutmeg. That's basically it. So now we need to prep our potatoes and our onions. So peel those both, and then I'll show you how we cut them in a second. I'll see you then. I forgot to tell you one ingredient, butter. We need a little bit of butter when we're frying up the onions, and we need to flake a little bit of butter on top of the Janssons Frestelse before it goes into the oven. So buy some butter. Now in terms of timing, the first thing we need to do is cut the onion, because that's going to go in the frying pan and brown a little bit. This is not classical to brown the onion. Some do it, some don't. You can also put the onion raw in, but I prefer the kind of extra taste that it gives when you brown or fry your onions first. So let's start with the onions. And it's just a simple slice, a couple of millimeters thick. So do that to your 2 onions if you like to do it the fried onion way. If not, you still have to do it. So cut your onions. Our onions are cut. Let's put them into the frying pan. Now you don't want the frying pan too hot, because you don't want to burn the leek. They should kind of caramelize a little bit. So we'll leave them in there to do their thing. In the meantime, turn on your oven. 190 degrees Celsius and up and down heat, top and bottom. Now for our potatoes, I'll show you how I will cut them. It's like in sticks. Now you can also just slice them. That's what my mom used to do. But I prefer them in sticks. Doesn't make any difference for the taste. And when we do the sticks, we should be like, I don't know what this could be, about 0.5 centimeter, 4 millimeters, something like that. And you can put the bowl next to it and put everything in the bowl. So cut all your potatoes. Now we have our potatoes cut. You don't have to do anything more with them. We have to wait until that's done. So let's spice up our cream. We need a good pinch of salt, some nutmeg. Now the cream needs to kind of taste over-seasoned, because obviously this gets mixed in with the potatoes that are not seasoned and with the onions that are not seasoned. So don't be shy with the seasoning. On the other hand, it's better to take it in steps than to over-salt, for instance, because the over-salting, it's difficult to get away. Almost impossible. Now open your Sprats or your Swedish anchovies. I only call them Swedish anchovies because it says on top. Now we need all the juice out of 1 can. And we mix this. Let's get a spoon to try it. Now this by itself is not the nicest thing to try. but it's going to be good. It's enough salt. This juice makes it really, adds a bit of sweetness to it, but also a bit of kind of salty, umami fish taste. But that's good, so we're done with that. Now we just need to wait for the onions. I'll just show you this as well. I took them out of the can and put them on a kitchen paper just to dry them off a little bit. I'll put them on a plate now. And the onions are pretty much done, so we can layer up the gratin. Now we have all what we need here. We have our cream, our potatoes, our Swedish anchovies, and our onions. Now the classical recipe calls for breadcrumbs on top, but I don't really like that. So I'm just going to make it without breadcrumbs. Now let's start to assemble. So we start with some potatoes. I'm doing a relatively small portion here. Spread out the onion. Put some of our sprats. And some more potatoes. And again, some of our onions. And on top, some sprats again. As you can see, we have a little bit too much. I could probably have done with at least one potato less. And now only put about half of the cream on top. I'll put this into something that's easier to pour. Let's put it into this, because otherwise I would have made a mess. And now we pour about half of it. This goes into the oven. Like we said, we preheated to 190. Let's put it in for 20 minutes first. All in all, it will take 40 to 45 minutes. But halfway, we're going to pour some more cream on top of it. So get that in, and then I'll see you in about 20 minutes. All right, so we're halfway there. We have our butter. You don't want to overfill it. Like that, perfect. And then spread some butter out on top, because butter is always nice. Now that goes back into the oven for another 20 to 25 minutes. I'll see you when it's ready. Now that's going to look lovely. Our Janssons Frestelse, our Janssons Temptation is done. It was in 45 minutes, so 20, then we poured on a little bit more and put on the butter, and then another 25. That's ready. Now we need to let it cool a little bit. Jansson Temptation is one of these dishes that they're best the day after, but it's also really, really good fresh. But we need to let it cool a little bit before we serve it up. So we need to wait probably 10-15 minutes, and then we'll serve it up. But before you go and we cut to that, do me the favor, if you enjoyed this episode, and you probably did if you're sticking with me up until now, hit that thumbs up button below. Hit it now. It really helps me get my content out there. So thank you for your support. And I'll see you in about 10-15 minutes. Let's cool down a little bit. I'm not going to take too much now. I'll only try it, and we'll have it later with the family. I put a little bit of dill on it just to, well, make it a bit more colorful. Put this away. Now let's dig in. Get a mix of everything: onions, potatoes, some of the Swedish anchovies. That's really nice. And I don't think you need to be Swedish to enjoy this. It has this, how should I explain it? It has a little bit of a pickled herring kind of taste. That's probably the closest these Swedish anchovies get to, or these sprats. It's a little bit of a pickled herring taste. You have a nice sweetness from the onions, and obviously the richness from the cream. Beautiful potatoes. It's really a flavor explosion. But if you don't like fish, this is not going to be your thing. So don't even try it. But if you like me and love fish, give it a try, even if you've never had it before, even if you're not Swedish. I think you might enjoy it. But that's it for today. It's quite a quick dish. Normally in Sweden, we serve this on the Christmas buffet or the Easter buffet. It's like one of the warm components. But you can also just have it like this by itself. It doesn't really necessarily, it's not necessarily served with something. It's just served by itself. But yeah, for me, it's a winner. I hope you enjoyed it. Before we go, if you're not doing so yet, hit that subscribe button, check the bell icon, leave me a comment, and don't forget the thumbs up. Take care. Bye-bye.